Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Real Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler, on this, what is today, 19th day of November. We're 8 days away from Thanksgiving. A lot of good football games on that day and that week. Actually, there's a game on that Friday. I was looking ahead at the schedule. Got a great show with you on for tonight. Got a lot to cover. Shador Sanders will, as I predicted, will get a start next week. Going to play at the Raiders. Dylan Gabriel's got a concussion. And, as far as last weekend was concerned, I'll tell you what, it just seems like this is a wide open year. I'll talk about that after the quick break. And, of course, college football news there with Brett Venables looking like he's going to be a stay there at Oklahoma. Big win at Alabama. And Lane Kiffin news with reports he denied them, saying that Ole Miss gave him an ultimatum. John Summerall had a scheduled interview for Florida, then turned down. That seems a little fishy. So, plus, I'm going to give you my NFL Power 5. Just a lot to get to here, everybody. So stand by. We'll take our first little break, and I'll be back here momentarily, and we will hit the ground running here on the Real Sports Scope. Hello, Sports Scope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and Sports Scope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to sports, that is sports with an S, another S, scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program. All righty then, I'm back here live. Now, when I saw Denver beat Kansas City in the fashion that they did, considering the fact that, Kansas City coming off that bye week and whatnot, and Denver not having their bye week, that fashion in Buffalo, a team struggling against the run this year. I know I had a big game, beast mode game for Josh Allen last weekend, three touchdowns passing, 3 rushing. But you look at that along with even a loss, how close Seattle played the Rams. This seems like an outlier year. This seems like a year where a couple of teams that nobody really thought was going to make the Super Bowl, kind of like 2002, back when the Raiders played Tampa. Not really. This is not a Rams year. It was not a Patriots year, not a Giants year. Remember, the Giants won twice. Then later come, but this was an outlier year. That was an outlier year. That's what it feels like, This year, a team like with the Drake May led team, with a team that still looked to be rebuilding in the middle of a rebuild, like a Patriots can make the Super Bowl. I just mentioned the Denver Broncos could make the Super Bowl this year. Seattle could potentially make the Super Bowl this year. Green Bay, although they've had some injuries, could make the Super Bowl. The Colts, who would have thought the Colts, led by Daniel Jones, could make the Super Bowl this year? Even a Tampa. This just feels like an outlier type of year where a team you really don't think, not really a megastar quarterback, just do not think that, particularly in the AFC, I just do not think this Chiefs team has got what it takes to get there. And again, with the Buffalo Bills, with their run defense, when you really need that to come together, when the weather starts to get cooler in January. So Denver, a guy with like Bo Nix, a guy a lot of us didn't think was even going to make the NFL. You get a Daniel Jones-led team a cast off that's kind of bounced around the league a little bit, finds his way with the Colts. I think it's his third team. I think somebody picked him up last year, and of course, he's with the Colts now, and it's just one of those particular years. So, anyways, going back to that game, like I said, that game just really triggered something in me. It's like, wow, this is going to be an oddball year, which is good. You don't want the same teams going there every single year. So, Denver, going back to that game, they beat Kansas City coming off a bye week. The Chiefs, in the past, they've been unbeatable off these bye weeks. Andy Reid, 22-4 off a bye week. Denver have not had their bye week yet. Even though they did have a longer layoff, they had a rough game against the Raiders there. They did have the long weekend, and they took advantage of it. They played last Thursday, or the Thursday before last, and then they played Sunday. That was interesting. But that being said, again, 22-4, Andy Reid off of a bye week at Denver with extra time. But Bo Nix, I mean, he just didn't really have a huge stat line, but he made the throws when he needed these particular throws. And I'm trying to find his stat line now. I have so many notes here. Playoff picture and everything. There's so much news here, folks. That well, that was a great game in LA, by the way. Bo Nix, not even a touchdown thrown in this particular game, with an 89.4 quarterback rate. I mean, just 24 for 37, 295, but he didn't turn it over, only sacked twice. And, they squeezed in a few touchdowns here and a game-winning field goal. And Patrick Mahomes, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, 3 sacks. The defense really got to him, man. They really did. And that just goes to show you that particular game that stood out for me, that what wins in this league is obviously you want to get that quarterback you feel like you got some faith in on a rookie contract, and you want to build up the team around him. But really, what I've seen in this, you really just want to have a young, vibrant defense. You look at the teams like a Denver, for example. They just have teams with young, a young, vibrant, hungry defense. You look at other teams that are playing well. Some of the top teams in the league, Eagles. I mean, Jalen Carter, what's he, third year in the league, led by a young player there. You look at Houston, fairly young there. Anderson, young, older defenses. Got teams like Buffalo, Pittsburgh, Chris Jones. I mean, with Kansas City, older defenses, and because they've got some young spots there, but they've got some cap issues. But the fact that a team like Denver, who's drafted well, but with their dead money from the Russell Wilson thing, it just goes to show you hit those picks, you get that young defense. It's actually playing well. You can win in this league with the most average quarterback and a guy like a Bo Nix, for example. Okay? But as far as Kansas City is concerned, they probably need a reboot here. Look at people are criticizing the Chiefs. I think it's cartoon numbers of what they've done. The run that the Chiefs have been on is so astronomical that we have just put the goalpost so far back. We've raised the bar so high for the Chiefs. It's unbelievable. 5 Super Bowls since Patrick Mahomes has been there. 3-2. When does he start? 2018 AFC Championship game. Super Bowl 2019, 2019 Super Bowl loss, just Super Bowl, AFC Championship. You look at the fact that this team has been picking since 2018. That's 7 years, folks. Since 2018, either 28 to 32 in the draft. And they're still getting there with this. In other words, you're looking at these other teams. I just mentioned a team like the Seahawks, for example, Detroit Lions. Young, and throw the Lions in there, of course, another team that could still potentially make the Super Bowl. Get their secondary guys healthy and get Sam Laporta back, which he's supposed to be back. They got a shot to make it. But the fact that the Chiefs have done what they've done. Now, Kelsey's, you got to let Kelsey run his course. Chris Jones has ran his course. If they don't make the playoffs and get a higher draft, that might not be a bad thing, But they got to get some interior defensive players. I'd try to get a hold of a Tennessee and get a guy like a Jeffrey Simmons or whatever, or maybe put together some picks and move up in the draft. Maybe they don't make the playoffs this year. They're not currently in the playoffs at, what are they, 5-5 or whatever? They're currently not in the playoffs, So they got to get faster. They got to get younger. But the fact that they've been on such a run since 2018 is really impressive. Really impressive. I mean, they played their third straight Super Bowl last year. Was it 11 one-score games? They're losing those one-score games. Well, eventually you think they're gonna lose it. They're on a New England type of run, and it's still very impressive. But that was a game that really took me back. I did not see Denver winning that game, but hey, great coach there. Got a quarterback. Doesn't make a lot of mistakes. He has bad halves. He has bad quarters. He has bad stints. He's a second-year guy in Bo Nix. But we got to stop taking them for granted. And, yes, they're in my Power 5, which I'll get to shortly. Okay? Other big game, as I predicted, other big game of this particular week, coming back into last week. I said it was going to be a huge weekend. A lot of nail-biters. And, of course, this was – the Rams beat the Seahawks in a hard-fought, last-second missed field goal game. Playoff-like atmosphere with no touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Sam Darnold, yes, I said that right. No touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Sam Darnold and Seattle, which I didn't think they had that last time out, but they did, had a chance to hit a 61-yarder and end it in L.A., That didn't happen. Lakers win by 2 points, 21-19. About what I thought it was going to be. But Matt Stafford, man, he was almost flawless. 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, 0 sacks. Had to play a near-perfect game to beat this surging, young, hungry defensive Seattle team to take the league in the NFC West in a 3-team competitive division. Sean McVay, really excited about this particular game. Listen up, kind of reminds me a little bit of a little bit younger, more vibrant, not much younger, but a little bit younger version of a Dan Campbell. I thought this post game was pretty good.
Hey, there were so many examples of you guys as a team doing exactly what we wanted to do, man. Give it up for yourselves. Hey, there's going to be a lot of guys that I'm going to recognize with game balls, but there's one guy in particular that I want to be able to recognize. Where's one ball right here? All right, hey, we had our defense making plays. How about Ethan Evans? I'll give you a game ball on Monday. All right, how about, hey, offensive line, I can't tell you how impressed I was with that. Hey, this guy just ended up passing Dan Marino. He's ninth all time in completions, and this was on one tonight. I'll see you. birthday. Hey, love you guys.
On his son's first birthday, Sean McVay. Great coaching job, great quarterback play there from Matt Stafford. Right now, probably be my favorite to get to the Super Bowl and win the whole thing. But hey, it's not even Thanksgiving yet. Anything can happen. Still got to stay healthy, got to stay focused, got to try to win that division so you're not going on the road in a rough situation. But great win there, great speech there. McVay got a good group there going. And I tell you what, Matt Stafford, man, really playing like a Hall of Famer right now. What a resurrection this guy. Comes over from Detroit. Looks like I think his name was Rob Parker now with Fox Sports, called him Stat Pafford. And you know what? I actually believed a lot of that. I thought maybe, you know what? It wasn't all on Detroit. This guy was just patting the stats. He wasn't that good. And sure enough, no, you got to put the right coach, right system around him. He's got to get some success here late in his career. He's like 37 years old, 17 years in the NFL. Really big win there. Like a playoff-like win and an atmosphere for the Rams. Big one there. Okay, other big game. Detroit, Philadelphia is another game about the way I thought it would be. I thought it'd be a little bit more higher scoring game. But I tell you what, even in a loss, I was really impressed with the Detroit defense there, keeping Saquon Barkley at 83 yards, 49 yards receiving from A.J. Brown with their banged up secondary. I think if you get those secondary, I was at Kirby Joseph and Arnold, who's been kind of banged up all year. You get those two guys back and a Sam Laporta. Goff really missed Sam Laporta in that particular game. But either way, hey, listen, Philadelphia being led by their young, vibrant defense, got to give them, you just give the ball almost every week here lately to Jalen Carter and the push that he's getting up the middle. That guy's worth. That's the kind of guy you extend. I know he was a risky pick because of his off the field issues at Georgia with the speeding and everything, taking off a lot of boards and whatnot. But he's played pretty well. He's kept his nose clean. It was a really good win there for the Eagles. But I was that much impressed more with obviously the losing team there with Detroit. Got a few things they've got to tweak here and there. I don't like the fact that Dan Campbell's calling plays, but quite frankly, I thought he called a good game. Looking back on it, hearing a little bit of things about it here and there, looking at some of the analysts' breakdown of this particular game, I do think that, Goff had some open guys, but he just couldn't get to them because he had pressure right at his face there up the middle with that Eagles defensive line. It seems to rise above the occasion in certain aspects of the game. Remember, this was at Philadelphia here. But either way, good win there for the Eagles. Hanging tight there for this Lions team, which, listen, it's between the Bears, the Lions, even Minnesota, although they lost. This is a three-team race there in the NFC North as well. So we'll see how that thing plays out. Like I said, defense has played well. A few tweaks need to be made on that Detroit, mainly just kind of get these guys fully healthy there. If they can get healthy and playing right at the right time, they can beat anybody. Again, Detroit, Green Bay, these teams, 49ers look good. Now they got Brock Purdy back. They got who's a Pearsall back. They're going to get Brandon Ayuk back at some point, although he's supposed to be back already. And Lane Johnson being out for a few weeks. I'll talk about that a little bit later. The right tackle, that don't look good. That don't look good for the Eagles, who are 5-9. Jalen Hurts is without his right tackle there. So, anyways, I had the Mad New Yorker on. Last week, and he did pick this Charger team to get beat by the Jacksonville Jaguars. And that Charger team is an example of a team with you got guys like Khalil Mack, older player. They had to get rid of, and they had some dead cap with Joey Bosa. Um, you've had some bad cap issues and hadn't hit on those on those picks like a Denver has per se, like a Denver has. And you can tell they look like an old defense there. You want to say maybe because they were on the field too long. I mean, just totally dominated, in that game. Did not see that kind of no show coming. I wanted to get a soundbite of that, and I didn't get a chance to play it, but I'm playing this commercial now. We'll get a bite here of Jim Harbaugh saying what I was thinking. I mean, they were just a total no. It kind of reminded me as them at the in the second half of the Houston Texans game in the playoffs last year, where the Chargers looked like they were just totally gassed, both sides of the ball. Just totally out of gas. This was a flashback because it was a worser type of loss. I mean, just like I said, what was it, like 35-6? I never thought they'd play this bad. Listen up, Jim Harbaugh after the game.
Beat every which way you could possibly be beat, and we we're gonna fly back to LA and get together and figure out what we're gonna do about it.
Do you think this was a preparation issue, or what?
Yeah, every possible phase of the game, including strategy. We got beaten every possible way.
Yeah, and I like the way he just straight up about it. Didn't make any excuses. Just cut right to it. Thought I had a box score on this crappy game. I may have erased it. Like I said, 35-6, just totally annihilated there. And here we go. Justin Herbert, 10 for 18, 80 yards, 1 interception, no touchdown, 2 sacks, 21 yards rushing, 13 yards rushing out of Badal, their running back. They got less than 50 yards. That's not me making that up. Less than 50 yards rushing there in that particular game. Worst I've ever seen them look. Much needed bye week. Hopefully they'll get a little bit healthier. Of course, like I said, when you got those tackles out like that, they played in that game the way I thought they could possibly play the week before against the Steelers. And it's like they left everything on the field in the Steelers, and they went to Jacksonville, early start time, coming off a Sunday night game, and flat as a board. So I couldn't have described that game any better than that. They're probably shot for the season. They'll bounce back now. I don't want to be the next team that plays the LA Chargers after this bye week, because Harbaugh will have them up and ready to go after they got humiliated like that. Actually pulled Justin Herbert out of that game. It's just like they waved the white flag early on this game. Really took me by surprise here. So anyways, that will lead me to, let me get a swig of water here. That will lead me to my NFL Power 5, and there's been some shifting going on with this Power 5 here. Okay, number 5, got a new team here. Maybe a little low on some other analyst type of sheets here. But listen, I've got them at 5 and not higher. We talked about Bo Nix. We talked about his no shows during stints during the game. You look at his stats during the Raiders game. not good. They almost lost that game on a short week. So with that, but that being said, they do have uh, an excellent defense here. You know, Denver, they're 9-2. They have the best. They're the number one seed in the AFC. Yeah, the Denver Broncos. Go figure. They beat both of the teams in the Super Bowl last year. They beat the Eagles at Philadelphia. Okay, they beat Andy Reid off that bye week, which is just unbelievable. I'm still amazed by that. I said that earlier, and I'm saying it again now. Uh, Call it lucky or whatnot. By the way, they're third in defensive yards allowed, 17 sacks from Cooper and Bonato as their edge rusher. They rush the passer and they get stops. Bo Nix, 18 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Like I said, he ain't all world, but he's suitable, you know. But he plays well late in the games. He reminds me of a early. I'm not comparing him this. I'm just saying he reminds me of an early Tom Brady back in 2001. You could never totally get him shook out of a game. You know, knock the crap out of him, get the tuck rule, whatever, in the divisional game up in Foxborough back in the winter there, 2002, 2001, in that cold January snow day. I was living in New York City in 02. And knock him down, tuck rule, and they come back, get the field goal, win the game anyways. Okay. That's what Bo Nix reminds me of. You know, he makes big runs late in games, gets key first down in the end. So I've got them, Denver, number 5 in my Power 5. Okay, now, number 4, Indiana. Listen, the Colts here, Indianapolis Colts here, they had this past weekend off, much needed bye week. DeForest Buckner is on DeForest Buckner, best defensive interior player. He is on the IR, but I think it's a short term. I want to say he's going to be back here in a few weeks. This past week, that helped him recuperate. I want to say he was out against Atlanta, and he's out this. So he may be back here in a few weeks. So he's only going to miss just probably 3 games because you count the bye week per se. That being said, Jonathan Taylor, 6 yards a carry. Daniel Jones, third in passing. Most well-balanced offense. And again, I want to see how, once they get Buckner back on defense, and of course now you've got Sauce Gardner on the back end, what are they going to look like come December when you got both of these guys back here? And Gardner's got 3 or 4 games under his belt with Lou and Morano. How good is the defense going to be then? And of course, and now it's getting colder. I know they're a dome team, but they got a big game this weekend. They're coming off that bye this weekend. The Chiefs better be careful. They're going to lose another one, but it is in Kansas City. I think Kansas City will win, but I wouldn't be sure. I wouldn't guarantee that. They may get ran on by this big offensive line. They may get beat here. But that being said, I still got them in the top 5. I got them as a number 4 team in the Power 5. Number 3, listen, Drake May, big, and I said it was just over the Jets, Robert. Come on. But they played a big game the week before, big road win at Tampa the week before. Tampa off that bye week, short week. Come play this Jets team, hungry, eager to make a move. I want to say Jets also had a win prior to that. But Drake May continues to play at an MVP level. They got the win. They're also, 9-2, and they're the 2 seed. Leads the league in passing yards, 20 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, second highest rating in the NFL. They're also the 2 seed in the AFC. Best run defense, run the ball, stop the run. Not the best running team, but I do like what Henderson's doing there. Trayvon Henderson, draft pick at Ohio State, thought he probably should have been the better player, but I know Junkins went higher and whatnot. And of course, Genty went way higher with the Raiders. But Henderson's fitting in really well here, getting some big runs there. The rookie running back um, out of Ohio State. Listen, second-year players do make it to the Super Bowl. The guy he's coming in for was two guys back. Remember, Mac Jones was his, but Tom Brady, second year, got to the Super Bowl. Dan Marino, second year, Super Bowl. Russell Wilson, second year. Ben Roethlisberger. Could they make the? Yeah, they could. Got the coach, got the quarterback, got the scheme there, the defense there. Number one at stop and run. Very good corner there. Christian Gonzalez. Got them at number 3 on my NFL Power 5. And, of course, number 2, Philadelphia. Being led by their defense. More weight. They can beat you with that defense. They can beat you with that running game, although it hasn't been very consistent this year. They could beat you with the passing game. They did that in the Minnesota game. I would have them higher, but like I said earlier, 4 to 6 weeks. Lane Johnson had the ankle injury, played tough. He's a tough guy, just a big old tough guy. Probably also a Hall of Famer, right tackle for the Eagles. You got Jalen Hurts, who's 5-9. He's 5-9 without when Lane Johnson's out. So that's a big deal. And they got to play at Dallas this week. So we'll have that in our top 5 biggest games coming up tomorrow. We'll talk about that. But listen, they got wins over the Rams. They got wins over Green Bay. They got wins over Detroit. These are all playoff teams. Tampa. Those are big wins there. Those are big wins. Should have beat Denver. Had Denver beat most of the game. Of course, a couple of big throws there at the very end by Bo Nix there. That being said, got them at number 2 because of Lane. I'm that concerned about the 4 to 6 weeks that Lane Johnson's going to, because he's going to be back towards the end of the season. But he's a tough guy. He'll probably make his way back. So Eagles number 2. Number 1, coming off that big win, the LA Rams, 27 touchdowns, 2 interceptions there for Matt Stafford. Fully healthy wide receiving core, Puka Nacua, tight ends, running backs. Second points allowed. I didn't realize the defense was that good. Second points allowed. First was this Houston team, all kinds of problems at offense, including Stroud. I think C.J. Stroud's going to be back. But second points allowed, this Rams team coming off that big win. Number 1 team, probably be my favorite. If the playoffs started today, I'd probably pick the Rams to win the whole thing. I really like what they're doing. The balance on the offense, the pass rush there on defense, their 2 edge rushers there. I think it was Brian, was the guy's name. And of course, Jared Verse playing like the beast mode he is. Cornerback play, playing a lot better. Got 4 interceptions this past week. But it looks a lot better when you've got that kind of pass rush. So the Rams at number 1, Philadelphia at number 2, New England at number 3, and of course, Indianapolis number 4, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, Indianapolis number 4, and of course, Denver at number 5. If Denver continues to win and play well, I will definitely move Denver up in my NFL Power 5. Okay, still a few things to get to, folks. Shedeur Sanders, who said, listen, even after everything that happened on draft weekend, with the over dramatics of Mel Kiper going crazy, what's wrong with these people? Why aren't they taking Shedeur Sanders? He falls all the way to the 5th round, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, I know they've got Dylan Gabriel. They took in the 3rd. They've already signed Kenny Pickett. They've got Deshaun Watson on IR. And, of course, later on, they end up signing, Joe Flacco. That many, 5 total quarterback, 4 on the active roster. I said, listen, I'll still say, because the owner really liked him, pressed for this, I'll still say that he will play this year. And a lot of people didn't agree with that. And of course, this week, that's a pretty close game there at home for them against defense, very good at home. But Dylan Gabriel gets the concussion playing against, of course, the Ravens with their crazy good defense. Now Shedeur Sanders will be starting this week against the Raiders on the road. So he will get his start this week. Didn't look bad. This idea that he, didn't get enough starts with the ones, yeah, that throws you off a little bit. But all that being said, going against a healthy, hungry Baltimore defense, he was kind of thrown in there to the Wolves. I think he'll play a lot better, much easier defense, much easier opponent there playing against the Raiders. So he's going to have Jerry Jeudy, Njoku, Judak, whatever his name is, Judkins or whatever, that running back to hand the ball off to. He'd prefer to have the Raiders at home, but he will get his start. There is a chance that maybe he grabs this thing and runs with it. Well, they got 6-7 games left. There's a chance he could make a Dion, his dad said he was like an emotional moment to see his son get out there and play last weekend. But, I read this interesting stat here put out for Fox Sports. With his start, Shedeur Sanders will become the 42nd quarterback to start for the Browns since 1999. That back when they drafted Tim Couch here, second overall pick in that draft that did not turn out to be, it might have been number one pick. I don't know. Either way, it's a very high draft pick. Did not turn out to be a big-time star. But you think about this to the organization he's going to. The Cleveland Browns, they have new ownership now, but still, since 99. I think he's been in Mr. Haslam's on this team for about 10, 11 years. Okay? But the 42nd starting quarterback, think about it. In 26 years, they've had 42 starting quarterbacks. That's almost 2 a year. Now, this year, they've had Flacco, Kenny, I don't think Pickett's played, but they've had Flacco, Gabriel, and now Shedeur Sanders 3 in 1 year. 42 in 26 years. I mean, they just can't get that position right. That's why I said, and hey, I was wrong. I admit I was wrong. But that's why I said I thought it was a good idea for them to take that level of risk to get a Deshaun Watson at the time. Because I knew that their only Pro Bowler was like an alternate, that was Derek Anderson. Then you're going all the way back to Bernie Kosar, who's going to have some health problems, but he was playing well back in the 80s for them. But that's how bad it's been there for Clay. It's kind of the rough luck that they've had there up there in the home of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So we'll see how it plays out. I think he'll have his shot. I think he needs to play well. I think he's got some bad habits. He likes to turn and run backwards too much. He's got to step into the pocket more. He's got to quit being greedy. That's every young quarterback. I've said that. And I try to get to him. Hey, listen, take the check down. Got a pretty good running back there. Take the check down and see what happens. So I'm fascinated to see how this thing plays out there for Shedeur Sanders and the Cleveland Browns. Although, listen, they're, they're 2-7 or something like that. But that being said, a lot of superstars. You got Myles Garrett there. They got to put it together. A lot of draft picks. If you're Sanders, you want to play well enough where they don't use those picks next year or in 27 to get another quarterback. We'll see how it plays out. Dion said he's thinking about going down there, but he's still got to worry about what the Colorado has to do on Saturday get ready for their game. Okay, to the college game. Listen, I was wrong. I mean, listen, Brett Venables at Oklahoma in year 4. I was pretty sure that he would get fired and the Florida coach would get fired. It came in around the same time. Of course, Florida coach already out. I forgot his name now already. But Venables, I was sure after year 2, after Lincoln Riley left, I know he did pretty good. He had some of Lincoln Riley's players still there. I want to say he won, 10 games? Let me make sure I got these stats right here. I don't want to shortchange this, man. Yeah. Yeah, year 2, somewhat of a rebound year, 10-3, but 6-7 year 1, year 2, 10-3, 6-7 year 3. And I thought, this guy is definitely not going to make it here. But you look at last year, even though they were 6-7 last year, they did beat Alabama. They did play Tennessee pretty tight last year. But the year before that, they did beat Texas. They didn't beat Texas. But this year, they got the quarterback right. He finally got that right transfer in John Mater here. And, of course, they're 8-2. And if Mater doesn't get hurt, he looked like he was still recovering against Texas. Of course, they lost that game. Same thing against Ole Miss, although you got to credit Ole Miss. Much clever offense there. At 8-2, they didn't just play Tennessee strong this year. They beat Tennessee at Tennessee. Now they've swept. They beat Alabama 2 years in a row. Very good, solid defensive team there. Just don't make a lot. You could tell they're well coached there. Got the pick 6 against Ty Simpson. Got the big turnover against Tennessee. The team seems disciplined defensively. They're playing in their lanes. I was just for sure this is going to be. But Brett Venables, year 4. That guy has officially, in my opinion, maybe he never was on the hot seat, but I thought he was on the hot seat coming in this year somewhat. But in my opinion, he has coached himself off the hot seat. Kind of like Brian Kelly when he went through a slump there for a little while in Notre Dame, coached himself off the hot seat, did pretty well. Then, of course, we know he vamped out, went to LSU, and got fired there for whatever reason. Although Colin Coward said he had some reports that Kelly, not to get too far off topic, that Kelly was pretty much not getting out there recruiting really hard, kind of melted in, took that big check more for the paycheck, thought that he would that LSU basically recruit itself, essentially saying what he heard. But anyways, back to Brett Venables. I was wrong, man. I mean, this guy got it right now. He's the type of coach that he's not a great scheme. He's not a Lincoln Riley. He's good for the culture. He's good for the physicality. That's one thing I do like about the defensive coaches. He's got to continue to go hard as far as getting that quarterback right. Again, once Mater leaves, and that they could be right back in the championship hunt there. So the way this thing looks right now, they've got Missouri. They've got Missouri at home next week. And then they've got LSU, if I'm not mistaken. Let me double check this schedule. At home the week after that. They win those 2 games, and I don't see why they're not in the playoffs. Okay? Missouri at home, LSU at home. You beat Missouri and LSU. Your rough losses were to Texas. Yeah, that was John Mater's first game back after the hand injury. They lost that one 23-6. Then they go on the road, beat South Carolina 26-7. Come back, Ole Miss, very well coached game there by Lane Kiffin. Lost that game 34-26. And, of course, they go on the road back-to-back there. The next 2 games, although there was a bye between, beats Tennessee, number 14 at the time, then beats number 4 Alabama. Very good resume builder and they've got the home win against a ranked Michigan, and then at the time, a ranked Auburn team. Also, those are big wins. You finish off with the win at home, which is coming up Saturday against Missouri. I guess we'll have to put that in the biggest games, right? Number 22, Missouri, and of course, LSU the very next week. You win those two games, you got to put them in the playoff at somewhere. You got to knock somebody out. Even if everybody else wins. That's too good a resume for Oklahoma. At one time, Mater was considered to be a Heisman Trophy candidate. So that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out these next 2 weeks. But like I said, I'll always call myself out. If I get it wrong, I'd say, hey, I praise myself. I used to go good scope, bad scope, but basically that's what I'm saying here. Right about Shedeur Sanders' situation, wrong about Brett Venables, wrong about I was wrong about Cleveland being a good idea there to take Deshaun Watson. But this one, I'll admit, I was definitely wrong about Venables, and I think they have a very good shot to get into the playoffs. Okay. In other college football news, Lane Kiffin. Now, this was the Athletic, so this is a pretty good source here, saying that suggested that Ole Miss basically gave Kiffin an ultimatum to make his decision whether he's going to stay or not at Ole Miss before the Egg Bowl, which is the Mississippi State game. That's the annual interstate game, and then of course Pat McAfee on Pat McAfee's show, Lane Kiffin has denied reports that Ole Miss gave him an ultimatum to decide on his decision, stating it's absolutely not true, while reports suggest the school wanted a decision before the Egg Bowl on November 28th, which is next Friday. It always seems to be the Friday after Thanksgiving. Kiffin said on the McAfee show that no ultimatum was issued and he is happy at Ole Miss. I say that because there were reports earlier today that Florida, which is, like I said, one of the schools that I thought would be a pretty good fit for Lane Kiffin, who, they've obviously have a job opening there. Steve Spurrier likes Kiffin. He's already coached at Florida Atlantic. He's got a handprint in Florida. I thought that would be a better fit there. Plus, he can coach Lagway. What could he do with a guy like DJ Lagway, a world-class talent? It would be a slam dunk of a hire, But today, they said earlier, reported that John Summerall, the Tulane coach, who was rumored to be linked to the LSU job because Tulane's it's a local New Orleans school, but that he was supposed to be a candidate to be interviewed Thursday, which is tomorrow. Then apparently that was called off. The interview with Tulane's has been called off for Pete Nakas. And of course, everybody else is saying that too. On3 is also saying that that's been called off. So that's an interesting storyline to follow. Is Lane Kiffin, because he hasn't really said it. He said, I want to finish it. He hasn't come out and said, I'm not going to leave Ole Miss. He has not said that. He's playing the game. I really do think he's going to take one of these jobs. I think he probably should take Ole Miss, but if he don't take Ole Miss, take the Florida job. And like Dan Wessel said, he's a longtime reporter. He used to work with everybody, Yahoo and whatnot. Do you really want to be the guy that leaves a potential playoff team like an Ole Miss and leave for a school inside your conference like that? So And he's going to hear it anywhere he goes. He's going to hear it, man. If he goes to LSU, Ole Miss fans are going to get him there. If he goes the same thing if he goes to Florida. I think he should probably just stay there. I don't think he should take one of these NFL jobs. Maybe if he gets a right coordinator, go to the Giants. But I just think he would be his happiest staying there and building on and making his own way at Ole Miss. At Ole Miss. Plus, he's got a lot of freedom there. He can be himself, and he's making a lot of money. And apparently, they've got some NIL money, according to Colin Cowherd. That he said he had a source. They got a chunk of NIL money. So that's all interesting storyline. And of course, listen, also Virginia Tech hires James Franklin. I thought that was a good hire. I thought that was a good hire. Franklin is not. He wins games. He doesn't win the absolute top games. But the fact that James Franklin wins at places like Vanderbilt, 24-15 out of 39 games at Vanderbilt in 3 years. 104-45 at Penn State. Nobody before him. I came even close to James Franklin and what he done at Vanderbilt. And yeah, he did get some wins over Ohio State, but he just didn't win enough. I think he's learned. And by the way, I think he's learned. I still think the guy feels like he's growing. He negotiated out of a $49 million buyout all the way down to $9 million. He could have just stayed and let he could have did ESPN. He was on ESPN. He was fired on like Saturday, Sunday or whatever after the game when they lost the game to Northwestern. He goes on game day the very next week. Very next week. So he could have been invited on stuff like that. He could have done radio shows, podcasts like I'm doing, and still drawing parts of that $49 million for the next few years. And that doesn't count the 50, 60, whatever he's already made from Penn State, whatnot. But he wanted to go. He negotiated that all the way down to $9 million. So they owe him $9 million, and then they don't owe him nothing else. Cut him a check for $9 million. They're still looking for their coach. And he's going to take the contract and go to Virginia Tech. Could he win 9-10 games in Virginia Tech and possibly be in the 12-team playoffs? Yeah, I do think so. Could he potentially be in position to win a national championship? Possibly. I think he'll take more chances this time. I think he's still hungry. He still wants to coach. But the fact that he took that and just didn't sit on his rear end tells you he still got fire in his gut. Now, there's been talks of him for weeks at Virginia Tech. So there was some speculation. Maybe he was hoping that maybe Arkansas or Arkansas or Florida or LSU, one of those big jobs would be interested. But that just wasn't the case. But it was a great hire there for Virginia Tech. Not quite the job, not quite the level of difficulty that Penn State, going through Michigan, going through Ohio State, Oregon. Clemson, they seem to be down. Miami's up and down, in the ACC. Georgia Tech, who knows if they're going to keep their coach with their success they found. Seems like a little bit easier of a ride there. Seems like, I know that Frank Beamer, Shane Beamer's dad, they were really close to a national championship. Hey, they were in the national championship game with Michael Vick back when it was just two teams. So, yeah, you can't tell me that maybe with some NIL financing, that he couldn't. He's a good recruiter. He's up there in Virginia. There's some players in Virginia Beach area. It's not as many, But I think he's a pretty good recruiter. He's shown that from Vanderbilt. He's shown that at Penn State. Just didn't quite get over the hump there. So good hire there for Virginia Tech. So folks, if you like the show, share the show. I tell you, that's a lot of mouthful. I'm starting to get cotton mouth here. I'll be back tomorrow with the Mad New Yorker. We'll go over these games last week, and we'll pick the 5 biggest games. You all seem to really like that one. We'll pick the 5 biggest games coming up this weekend here on the Real Sports Scope. Have a good night, everybody.